What's up, Renegades? Welcome back to another episode of the Just Winging It podcast. I'm Tattoo Tom. Tonight's episode is brought to you in association with Lou and Sue Alami over at Alami Realty. Please use the link in the comment section to see Lou and Sue for all your buying, selling, and mortgage lending needs. Based here in the Loudoun County, Virginia, DMV, DC metro area, Lou and Sue Realty really makes a difference, and they really will help you navigate through this crazy realty market that's going on right now. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank you guys for showing up and joining us tonight. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to my main man, Quinn, my road dog, Quinn. I was at the airport today dropping my girlfriend and her two daughters off, and I heard somebody say, Tattoo Tom, Tattoo Tom. And I looked over, and there was my guy, Quinn. And this might not have been so unusual, except Quinn just had major brain surgery like 3 days ago. He had a brain tumor removed. He has osteosarcoma, and the cancer had spread into his brain. And we were all very concerned. I posted about it on my Facebook, asking for thoughts and prayers for his surgery. And I know, all of a sudden I look over, and there he is, man. He's at the airport like 3 or 4 days later, and he's on his way to Disney. And I guess they don't call this kid the Mighty Quinn for nothing. I was blown away by him, his strength, his tenacity, and it was a joy to see him and see him smiling. You know, just like 2-3 days. It was probably about 3 or 4 days after brain surgery. So Quinn, I hope you and your family have a great time down there. All you guys have earned it. I know it's been a hectic few weeks, and you guys have earned a nice vacation down there in Disney. So enjoy the Florida weather, and I'll see you when you get back, man. But it sure was good to see you today. And everybody, please keep Quinn and his family in your thoughts and prayers as they as they begin to navigate their way into the next phases of their treatment. So anyway, speaking of my girlfriend and her daughters, we were sitting around last night, and we were going over some of the old Still Brave videos and promo videos that we've done in the past for different fundraisers, different races, things like that. And one of the things that was, kind of heartbreaking is that as the videos were playing, I'd say, yeah, that was Gabriella. She passed away. There's Jay Elliott. He passed away. And there's Dale, and he passed away. And so it was like one kid after another that were such an integral, important part of my life as these, back when we were doing these different videos. A lot of them have passed away, and they've died from cancer. And I guess I'm cognizant of that fact, but I don't think about it in as many ways. But my girlfriend looked at me and she goes, "How do you do it? How do you keep going back and getting close to these kids? It's got to be hard." She saw a video with Gabriella Miller laughing, and that infectious, ridiculous, amazing giggle that Gabriella had, and just you melt when you hear that laugh, and she knew how close, I had told her in the conversation how close Gabriella and I were, and so she asked me, how do you do it? And I get that question a lot. People are like, I couldn't do what you do, and I don't know how you do it, and sometimes I wonder too, but I think I can explain it this way, and this is about the best way that I can explain it. So when my daughter died from childhood cancer, on a scale of 1 to 10, it hurt 12. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I've never felt any pain, any loss, anything as intensely as I felt that. And that's not surprising. Many parents who've lost children to cancer would be able to relate to that. And many of you who could probably imagine or don't want to imagine what it would feel like to lose a child, it feels that way. You'd probably imagine it would feel 12 on a scale of 1 to 10, and it does. So when I get to know these kids and I start getting close to these kids that my foundation, supports sometimes in a variety of different ways, and one of those children will die, it hurts on a scale of 1 to 10. It hurts a 10, like it should. And occasionally I will get really, really close, like in the case of Gabriella or Dale, or almost always. Am I kidding? I'll get really close to these kids, and if they die, and it hurts about an 11. But one of the things that hasn't happened is I haven't gotten back to 12 yet. And I don't know. I would imagine if maybe another one of my children were to pass away, either from cancer or something else, a car accident or something, on a scale of 1 to 10, it probably would hurt a 12 again. I don't love any of my children more than any of the others, and probably would hurt 12 again. But the thing about it is, and this may sound strange, but I know what 12 feels like now. And I know that while it's not easy, I know I can keep living with that 12. I've learned to laugh again. I've learned to love again. I've learned to do all of the things that I thought, when my daughter died, that I never would be able to do again. So I'm not afraid of that. With all the other kids that have passed away, I've never gotten back to 12. And so I feel like I have an obligation to do it, because some people can't handle 10, and that's not anybody's fault. 10's asking a lot out of anybody. So I'm not really scared of it, and I think that's a big part. I'm not afraid to feel the pain. I'm not afraid to get close to the kids. I'm not going to shrink back and avoid it for fear of the pain of losing them, because if everybody did that, then these kids would be alone. And in many cases, just as it is now, they lose friends and even family. It's just too hard for them. It's just too intense to watch a child, with cancer fight, and then lose that battle, for lack of a better term. So I'm not scared, and I'm not really scared of anything except I'm afraid of 13, because I don't know what 13 looks like, and I don't know what 13 is. But I haven't seen it, I haven't felt it. So until I can't handle 12 or 11 or 10, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. And if 13 comes along, we'll face 13 when we face it. So that's how I do it. If you want to know how I do it, I just do it. I push through it, and I think it's important so these kids don't wind up without some crazy knucklehead like me showing up, and winging it, because that's essentially all we do. We show up and we wing it. All right. So on another note, a little bit lighter note, I want to draw attention to you in our in our comment section. There'll be a link down there for Still Brave's new clothing line. With COVID, we've been hit really hard, so we're trying to find new creative ways to raise money to fund our many services and programs. So we've started a new clothing line. We've launched some new Renegade gear, some new Savage Kindness gear. We got leggings, we got toddler gear, we got onesies, we got new stuff dropping every day. So take a look in the comment section at the link for our new online store and buy some gifts for you and your friends and family. There's some pretty cool stuff, some pretty rad stuff, like this t-shirt that I'm wearing today. It says Still Brave Renegades. No matter which way you look at it, backwards, upside down, doesn't matter. We're still brave and we're renegades. So take a look in the comment section for a link to our online store. We'd be grateful if you did. So I want to take just a second and talk to you about last week's episode where we showed you the rally that we did at the National Cancer Institute. I know that was very powerful for a lot of people to watch, and it was powerful to participate in it and take part in it. It was a little bit frustrating because we didn't get the turnout that we had hoped for. And it was a little bit frustrating because nobody from NCI had the common courtesy to come out and address us about our concerns. So we've decided to go back. And we're going to go back on June 15th at noon. That's at the National Cancer Institute in Bethesda, Maryland. And we're going to keep going back. And many times as it takes until somebody will come out and address us about what we consider to be the travesty in the disparage in the amount of money that's appropriated for childhood cancer research versus adult cancer research. And then something happened a day or two after our last episode that really, quite frankly, pissed me off. And what happened was I was scanning my news feed in Facebook, and the National Cancer Institute had posted something about cancer in young adults. And damn if these sons of bitches didn't say in that post, verbatim, since cancer in young adults is rare. I mean, I shit you not. That's what they said. 2 days after we were there screaming and yelling about how childhood cancer is not rare, and they had the unmitigated audacity 2-3 days later to post on their post that cancers in young adults is rare. So I personally know, and I'm only one man, hundreds of young adults and adolescents and older teens who have cancer, and I know many, many of them who have passed away. So I'm not sure what the National Cancer Institute's definition of rare is, but I can't believe that they keep the propaganda behind this this cancerous rare thing with children, adolescents, and young adults coming out of a government agency. And I don't know where they're getting their statistics from or what they're basing that rare figure on, but it's aggravating and it's frustrating, and it's the exact reason why they're able to justify not giving enough money to research, or why they're, it's why the parity is so skewed, between adult cancer research taxpayer dollars and childhood cancer research taxpayer dollars. So we're going back, and again, we're going to keep going back. And I sent them a message after I read their last post. I sent them a direct message, and I said, please, guys, we don't think you're our enemies, but what you're clearly not being our friends, and it's not. And what you're doing is not okay. By giving this false information. And I mean, you wouldn't believe the parents that were up and outraged that they would say this, particularly those of us who lost children. My daughter was a young adult when she died, and I don't think it's rare. I mean, I think I get really upset when I start talking about it. But next week on the podcast, we're going to have a girl named Kellen who was at the protest, the last one we had. She's going to be on the show next week, and she's 19 years old. She's a young adult, and I know she's going to have a little something to say about it being rare. She's got a gazillion friends she goes through treatment with, and so anyway, we would encourage you guys, take a look at the Facebook event page in the comment section and consider coming out on June 15th at noon, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. I know everybody always says to me, Tom, what can I do to help? How can I get involved? Come out. Get off your ass and come out and help us get answers. We just want to understand, because we don't understand, and we want to understand. And I'm going to, challenge the National Cancer Institute a couple more times as we're leading up to that date. I'll send a formal email and a couple other things and see if we can get somebody in authority to come out and address us as a group and explain to us in a way that makes sense to us, why they continue to propagate this false narrative of cancers in children and adults being rare. Because it's not. I can give you the same old tired, boring statistics. I'm just going to spare you them today. I'm not going to tell you how much money they spend versus what we spend on potato. I'm not going to tell you any of that stuff. I'm just going to tell you it's not right. So we're going to encourage the National Cancer Institute to come out and explain things to us. We're going to send them a formal invitation, let them know that we'll be there. And I really could use you guys' help coming out. There's strength in numbers, and the more of us that show up and continue to show up, the more attention that we might get from them. Maybe they can just help us understand. That's all we want to do. Or maybe we can help them understand that they're wrong. But if that dialogue doesn't take place, if we keep accepting this status quo, and if so many of the foundations don't step up and demand answers, then nothing's ever going to change. Nothing has changed in the 12 plus years I've been in the childhood cancer community. Not a damn thing has changed. So we're going to see if we can't make that status quo not such a acceptable part of National Cancer Institute. So again, take a look in the comment section for a link and how you can come and participate in that event. We'll give more directions, more information as we get closer to it, June 15th. Also, take a look in the comment section. There's a link to our tax-deductible tattoos. That's right, tax-deductible tattoos. We have an auction and a lottery for tattoos, and you can find out all that information by clicking on the link. Again, COVID hit us pretty hard, like it did a lot of small businesses and nonprofits, so we're trying to look outside the box. We're trying to find new and creative ways to raise money, and we want you to be a part of that. Who doesn't like tattoos? Everybody likes tattoos. Who wouldn't like tax-deductible tattoos? Tattoos you can write off. That's still brave. That's what we do. We find ways to raise money that's a little bit outside of the box. So you'll find a link in the comment section. Give you all the information that you need about the two tattoo project initiatives that we have going on. So I mentioned Lou and Sue Alami at the beginning of the podcast. They're our sponsors, and we mention them every week. We really appreciate them. They're also my friends. They were my realtors. They're good people. But they're not just sponsors of the podcast. They're good stewards within the community, and they're big supporters of Still Brave and always have been. So in addition to supporting the podcast, they're actually helping with the barn renovations here at the Two Feathers Farmhouse so that we can get our therapeutic petting farm up and running for children with cancer and their families. It's going to be a private invite-only type of event. We're going to work with the social workers at the hospitals and the chemotherapy clinics and see if there's kids that want to come out and, just get away, get out in the mountains here, get some fresh air. They'll be able to play with. We're going to get a bunch of Nigerian dwarf goats. We're going to get some chickens. We're going to get some ducks. And we're even getting a beautiful miniature therapy pony. So the kids will be able to groom it and pet it, hang out with it, to play with the goats. But just be a nice low-key way for them to get out, and do something. Because with COVID, it's kids with cancer are immunocompromised to begin with. So, even before the pandemic, it was always a little bit cautious. Their parents had to be a little bit cautious taking them to different places. And we want to provide a safe, COVID-friendly place for them to come and just to be kids, to run around and get knocked down by a goat or knock the goat down or, brush the pony. Chase some chickens around. It's going to be a fun experience, not only for them, but for us, and those of us who are going to work here on the farm to open that up for the kids. So we're hoping with Lou and Sue that the renovations will be done. Lou's contractor came out and took a look a couple of weeks ago, and my understanding is sometime in May we should have this up and done, and then we'll get the animals directly thereafter. And in addition to that, we bought this really cool 25-foot inflatable movie screen, and in front of the farmhouse, it's about 3/4 of an acre of grass, and we're going to set this big, huge inflatable movie screen up and let children with cancer and their families come out, set up blankets, and bring picnic baskets, things like that, and watch kid-friendly PG-13 movies on different nights. And we have the sitting porch with tons of rocking chairs so the parents can sit up there, have a glass of wine or a beverage of choice, bring sandwiches, or maybe we'll get some goat cheese if I can figure out how to milk these goats and make cheese. But it should be really fun, so we're really excited about that, and it's really about to happen. It was a big dream when I moved out here, but it's happening. And so sometime by the end of May, we should have this farm up and running, and kids will be able to come out and pet these animals. And but the funny part about it is I'm probably the citiest city boy ever. So I'm going to have to look everything up on YouTube. I wouldn't know how to take care of a goat if my life depended on it, but my life does depend on it because I got to pull this off. So I'm going to be a YouTube farmer, and I'm going to figure it out. We got some people that are going to give me some advice. If you're watching this and you got some good advice about taking care of these goats and the miniature pony and raising chickens and all that stuff, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm easy to reach on Facebook. Send me a message. I respond to all my messages. So we're really excited about that. And that should be coming up probably by the end of May. So when summer hits, we'll have the farm going. We'll have movies going. And Lauren and I are going to be aggressively training, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, for the Moab 240. That's a 240-mile ultra marathon through the Moab Desert in Utah. It's a race like we've done in the past with Bigfoot 200 up down Mount St. Helens volcano, and then the race before that where we circumnavigated Lake Tahoe in the Nevada, California area. And we dedicate each of those 240 miles to a different child who's either fighting cancer, is currently in treatment for cancer, in remission from cancer, or has lost their battle to cancer. And we carry pictures of those children, and we read their names as we're traversing these miles in mountains and desert area. We stop and we acknowledge these kids. And there's a link in the comment section that you can click, and it'll take you to our fundraiser. And just like we've done in the past, we have like a friendly little competition. We'd hope that we can get you guys, little companies, little groups to get together and sponsor one or more of these miles, or just make a donation to one or more of these miles, and read the stories and find out about these kids and get to know these kids and say their names out loud and leave comments and let their parents know that you care and that their kids matter and mattered and still matter. And one of the promises that I made to my daughter before she died, and one of the promises that I make to parents of children with cancer who passed away, is I promised that as long as I'm alive, as long as I have breath in my body, I will not let their children be forgotten. And I won't. And I don't. So what we do is we read their names, and we celebrate their lives all over again through these fundraisers. And so you can read their stories, you can sponsor their miles, you can get your community behind it, you can have yard sales, you can have lemonade stands, you can do a variety of things to raise money. And then you could put a box, if you own a small business, you could put a donation box just on the cash register, encourage your customers to make some donations in support of this mile, and then it'll be a tax deduction for you. So it's a win-win for everybody, and we really would appreciate it. It's not going to be a win-win for Lauren and I, though, because we're the ones that have to run the 240 miles. And it's going to be a challenge. It gets in the desert, and it's in October. So my understanding is it gets really, really warm during the day, and it gets really, really cold at night. In previous years, it's gotten below freezing at night, and so it's a concern for a variety of different reasons, but it pales in comparison to what children with cancer endure and go through every day. And like Lauren and I talked about on the episode a few weeks ago, it's our way of Lauren's a childhood cancer survivor herself, and she actually developed a secondary brain tumor from the chemotherapy, well, speculatively, from the chemotherapy that cured and rid her of her first cancer. So she understands better than I do what it feels like to be a child fighting cancer. But it's the closest I think I can come to replicating the struggles, because for me, it's very difficult. For me, I get out there and, I'm sleep deprived because I'm not very fast. So it takes me a long, long time to complete these races, which means I have to keep moving the whole entire time. So I don't sleep much. I lay down for an hour here, an hour there. I think last time when I finished the Bigfoot, 2 years ago when I finished the Bigfoot 200, finished it in a little over 100 hours, and I think I slept for a total of about 5 or 6 hours. So what happens is I sleep just long enough to stop the hallucinations. And then when the hallucinations stop, I get back up and I start running again, and I get out there again. So it's a real adventure for us, but again, I think, quite frankly, if I were to wager a guess, I'm not a betting man, but if I were, I would bet that these races, the struggles and the adversity that we face pales in comparison to what these children go through every day with their treatments, the chemotherapy and the radiation and the side effects and the long-term effects. And so we want you guys to really consider stepping up and helping us out again this year. We've had some great support in the past. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and we've always done really well. And you guys really step up and sponsor the miles. And, we're off to a good start, but we really need you to really step up. I'll be posting a lot about it on Facebook in the coming days. And as the training starts to really get a little bit more intense, we'll be sharing some of the stuff that we're doing, the way that we're training a little bit differently for this race this year. And, of course, I'll be mentioning it from time to time, probably more often than not on our podcast. Just, really want to get you guys out there because it is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And we're trying to recoup some of the hit we took from COVID and our inability to gather and pull off some of the other fundraisers that we've done. So this is going to be kind of a short episode. I don't have a whole lot of stuff for you. Next week, I'm really excited about having Kellen out here, and I think that episode's going to be really intense. And we've got a lot of stuff in the works for future episodes. We've booked a lot of really cool guests, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up. So tonight was just sort of another little informative podcast to let you guys know some of the things that we're working on and some of the initiatives that we have coming up and where we could really, really, truly use your support. And also, just to let you know, we will have some more amazing volunteer opportunities available. If you like animals, if you like working with your hands and getting outside and being a part of it's a very small, we don't have a lot. We're 2 acres here. We don't have a lot, but we could use some help, getting the farm up and running and keeping it functioning and stuff like that. So I'll let you guys know about that. And if you're not a member already and you want to be, go to our volunteer page on Facebook, the Still Brave volunteer page, and just sign up for it. And we'll post things pretty regularly about different volunteer opportunities that we have. And some of them may very well be some cool stuff here on the farm. So anyways, I want to go ahead and take just a few minutes and talk to you about this next segment that we started doing that seems to be pretty well received. People really like it. And it's called the Who Is This Dude Anyway segment, where I take a few minutes and just tell you who I am, what I am, and how I got to be this crazy tattooed knucklehead childhood cancer advocate that does this podcast. And sometimes I'll do it with a book that I've read I'll share with you, or maybe some music that I've was impactful in my life, or movies or something like. There's a variety of different angles that we might pitch. Lately I've been doing books and sharing books with you that were really pivotal or impactful in my life and things like that. So I'll tell you a couple of stories, and then I want to introduce one of the books that really had a profound impact on my life. So I was working, it's kind of a long story how it came to pass, but I was working at a church. It was a community church, and there was this amazing pastor there. that worked there. His name was Pastor Jack, and Jack was a good dude. I mean, he and I were really good friends. He was I guess I can say he was a very progressive pastor compared to some of the old hellfire and brimstone type pastors. He was a little bit more progressive, and he really liked me, and he embraced me, and we became really good friends. And he wound up getting me a job as a maintenance man at the church as I was going through a transitional period in my life. And I got really into it. I was taking private Bible studies with him and really sort of getting into our relationship. I even named my son, my one and only son, after him, Pastor Jack. But what was kind of a sad story is the church that he was a pastor at, maybe they didn't get down with his sort of progressive nature, but they wound up firing him. And so, I mean, I was more friends with Jack than I was with the church. But so after this, Jack got fired and everything was going down, I thought, well, maybe I need to see, what else is out there and take a look at some other stuff. One of the things that made me a little bit uncomfortable about the church, because I worked there, is I was privy to sort of some of the private conversations that took place between some of the people, and I was privy to a little bit of the hypocrisy that takes place, and I guess that's anywhere. It's not unique unto churches. It's a lot of different businesses that you'll find that kind of stuff. But I came into a Sunday service one Sunday, and they passed out the Sunday, the brochure, not brochure, but the program for the service that day, and inside it was a sheet of paper that was telling me who I should vote for, and it said, these are all the candidates that align with your political views. And I said, well, how do you even know what my political views are? And so it made me a little uncomfortable. And so I decided, well, maybe Jack's gone and not really digging this political angle, so let me see what else is out there. So I started looking around at different churches and just sort of, checking things out. And I stumbled upon this Buddhist temple, and it was called Ikoji Buddhist Temple, and they're still there today. It's a Shin Buddhist temple, Jodo Shinshu, which is a Japanese sect of Buddhism. So I looked on the website and found out a little bit of information about it, and they had a meditation class. And so I was part of this organization where meditation was encouraged. So I went and took their meditation class, and then I started talking to some of the other members that were there, and I got very interested in it. So I went out to one of the services and kind of got to kind of get an education on what Jodo Shinshu Buddhism was, and Buddhism is a lot like Christianity, and there are many different sects. Like with Christianity, you got Protestants and Baptists and Catholics and all types of different things. And Buddhism is the same way. There's Tibetan, there's Thai, there's Zen, and there's Shin Buddhism. It's all a little bit different. So I sort of got a little bit of an education about the differences in those kind of things. But then something happened, and this is the crazy part. So I guess somebody at the church the community church, the Christian church that I was attending, found out that I had gone over to this Buddhist temple. And this woman that went to the church, she sent me this doll in the mail, and the head was missing from the doll. And it said in the card, "Did you lose something, Tom?" I guess implying that I had lost my head or I'd lost my mind or something by attending this Buddhist temple. And so there was a suggestive, I started having some conversations, and it was suggested that, Buddhism is not Christianity, and, I could go to hell, I guess, if I didn't, continue in the church or whatever. But this wasn't one of those rattlesnake handling churches either. This was just like a community church. So I was pretty miffed about it. So I went back to the Buddhist temple, and there was this lady, and I'll never forget, her name was Jerry, and she was this beautiful older Japanese woman. And she asked me how I was enjoying, the temple and the people there and the lessons that I was learning. So I said, well, I really like it. I like what you're saying, and I really do. I said, I'm a little bit afraid though, because at the church that I came from, they told me that if I wasn't careful, I could wind up in hell gnashing my teeth. And she looked at me like I had I don't even know what whatever gnashing your teeth means, But anyway, she looks at me. She goes, "Child, we don't have hell here. And we don't even gnash our teeth, whatever that means." And I was like, well, yeah, it was interesting. So I was like, well, this doesn't seem quite so bad. Anyways, it's a long story, I know. But let me tell you about this book. So this book is called Ocean. And this is a book that they gave me when I first went to the Buddhist temple, and it's an introduction to Jodo Shinshu. I'm just going to read something for you real quick out of this that kind of helped explain what was attractive to me about it. And I want to go ahead and take a step back and let you know that I have no real beef with that Christian church. They're a little bit different, maybe way they view things than maybe I did, because I totally still get down with Jesus. I think that he and what he taught in the Bible and all that stuff, I still think it was great. But I had some problems with some of the politics, for lack of a better term. But anyway, Let me tell you about this. This book is called Ocean, and here's a parable that explains a little bit about Jodo Shinshu, and I think even Buddhism, but particularly Jodo Shinshu. So the guy says, I remember a Dharma talk story about a sailor lost at sea. I can't remember the name of the priest who gave the talk. I would like to give him proper credit for the story. Maybe it is the nature of the religious development that we are nurtured more by our unconscious impressions than we are by clear memories. I've expanded the story a little so that I can use it to capture the heart of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in doctrine and spirituality. Here's the story, an ocean metaphor, if you will. At night, a ship leaves the port of a tropical island. After many hours on the high seas, a sailor falls overboard. No one on the ship notices that the man is missing, and the ship sails on its way. The water is chilly, and the waves are choppy. It is hauntingly dark. The sailor paddles frantically to keep himself afloat. Then he starts to swim towards an island he saw before he fell overboard. He has lost all sense of direction, so he's not sure if he's even heading in the right way. Though he is a good swimmer, his arms and legs soon grow very weary. His lungs are tired, and he gasps for air. The sailor feels lost and totally alone in the middle of the ocean. This could be the end for him. As despair overcomes him, his energy drains from him like sand from an hourglass. He begins to choke on the water, slapping his face, and he can feel his body being dragged under. At this instant, he hears a voice from the depths of the ocean. Let go of your striving. You're fine, just as you are. And it's at this instant, he hears a voice, and the sailor hears the voice says, Namu Amida Butsu. The sailor hears the voice and stops his useless striving to swim by his own power. Instead, he turns over on his back with limbs outstretched as if he were in a backyard hammock on a lazy summer afternoon. He is overjoyed to find that the ocean holds him afloat without any effort on his part. Now the water feels warm and the waves are calm. The ocean that seemed ready to drag him under now caresses him. He is grateful and happy to know that he is all right. He realizes that he was fine all along. He just didn't know it. The ocean has not changed at all. By changing his thinking, the sailor's relationship with the ocean has changed. The sea changed from being a dangerous and frightening enemy to a friend who embraced and supported him. The sailor knows that he cannot stay afloat forever in the middle of the ocean. If he had no worldly obligations, maybe he could afford to stay in the rest of this joyful calm. But the image of his wife and his small children waiting anxiously at home inspires him to try to reach the shore. He begins to swim as before, but with one important difference. Now he trusts the ocean, as he would a caring and protecting loved one. He knows that whenever he becomes tired, he can let go, and the ocean will support him. More importantly, he now knows that while he swims, it is the power of the ocean, not his own power, that keeps him afloat. Yes, he moves his limbs to swim, but he has learned he can stay afloat by not striving. Now that he feels safe in the arms of the sea, the sailor can think about finding the island. He studies the position of the stars and the moon and the direction of the wind. Using his training as a sailor, he imagines where the island might be and slowly moves towards it. The swimmer has no guarantee that he has chosen the right direction, but he is now sure that the ocean will not let him down. Eventually, he will reach the island. In appreciation for this newfound confidence and joy, the sailor hears himself uttering Namu Amida Butsu. This story, in a nutshell, captures the heart of Jodo Shinshu spirituality. The drowning sailor symbolizes our human condition, which is best explained by the Buddha's realization we all experience suffering. Our natural response is to attempt to swim out of our predicament. But no matter how strong and well-trained, we are unable to swim to the distant island. Try as we might, the effort is futile. At this point, we are called to let go of our struggle and to trust the ocean. The result is a dramatic change in which we experience release, joy, and awareness. Within this Jodo Shinshu spiritual transformation called Shinjin awareness, we are infused with an abiding sense of well-being and a spontaneous desire to assist others to reach happiness. So this book is really cool. It talks a lot more about Jodo Shinshu, about Buddhist principles and things like that. But that ocean parable, it really resonated with me, and I think all my life, that was my problem, is I was trying to throw all of my own power and all of my own resource to my problems instead of realizing, maybe at times I just need to let go and trust. And maybe that's not unique unto to Buddhism. I think maybe that could be found in every religion, but Jodo Shinshu really emphasizes that. And I remember as I was learning a little bit about Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, I remember he was a monk who had been up on a mountain for like 20 years, and he really hadn't gotten any closer to enlightenment than when he went up there. And so he got frustrated, and then he decided to put all his trust into this saying, this Namu Amida Butsu, which I guess loosely translated, it means I take refuge in wisdom and compassion. And so that I was able to really, really wrap my head around, is that I take refuge in wisdom and compassion. I even have a tattoo across my belly that says Namu Amida Butsu. And I need to tell you that, I'm not a very good Buddhist. I'm kind of a half-assed Buddhist on my best days. But I don't really look at Buddhism as a religion. I sort of look at it more as an ideology, sort of a lifestyle. I want to read one more quick thing to you, and then I think we'll wrap things up. But this really sort of summed things up for me as I spent more time at the Buddhist temple, and I learned more about what was the Buddhist principles and the ideology, and sort of as I read through the canons, I was able to compare. And I have another book that I'm going to share with you in a future episode called Jesus and Buddha as Brothers. And it was written by Thich Nhat Hanh, a very famous Buddhist monk. But it's interesting, the parallels between Buddha and Jesus, and the parables and the stories that they told. They're almost identical in a lot of cases. I'm going to share that with you in a future episode, but that's really not the point here. But I wanted to read this last thing to you, because this really sold me on wanting to continue to attend services at temple, and I still go once in a while, even to this day. So this is the Bodhisattva vow. It says, however countless all living things, I vow to save them. I make this solemn vow that I will strive to save all life from pain and grief, and with the Dharma pave a road to guide all beings to Buddhahood. However endless our angry passions, I vow to extinguish them. I make the solemn vow that I will try to break the grip of craving and desire, and through the Buddha's great compassion quench the pain of human sorrow. However vast the Buddha Dharma, I vow to learn it. I make this solemn vow that I will aspire to learn the countless lessons of the law, and having learned one, reach still higher until I am free of ignorance. The way of Buddhahood is the way of enlightenment. I vow to attain it. Now, I can get down with that. That seemed a lot more attractive to me than this whole going to hell, gnashing your teeth business, whatever that means. But anyway, so that's a little bit more about who is this dude anyway. Again, on my best days, I'm a half-assed Buddhist. At other days, I'm an angry atheist. I don't know half the time, but I really think this book was impactful. And I'll put a link in the comment section that you guys can get it. Just give you a little bit more information about Shin Buddhism and what it is. So we'll see you guys next week on another episode of the Just Winging It podcast with Tattoo Tom. Next week, I have a very important guest, Kellen. Kellen's going to give you a little bit of information about why childhood cancer and cancer in young adults is not rare. Still brave, Shayla. Still brave.